Democrats, or is he just seeing the Democratic process to its conclusion? Joining me now, Sanders supporter and delegate Angie Morelli from Nevada, where things got a little heated last week, and Thomas Frank. You'll remember he wrote What's the Matter with Kansas? His latest book, Listen, Liberal, Whatever Happened to the Party? Thomas, let me begin with you. I know you saw this Washington Post editorial at the end of the week. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It said this: Mr. Sanders denies reality when he tells supporters he still has a plausible pathway to the Democratic presidential nomination, but passion cannot trump reality. It also cannot excuse violence, threats, and attempts at mob rule. It is past time for Sanders to be honest with his supporters before they take the campaign's irresponsible ethos to greater extremes and thereby help ensure the election of Donald Trump. Your response, Thomas Frank, is what?
That's an editorial, right? Or is that one of their news stories? I mean,
no, it's the lead editorial. I think it was Thursday.
Yeah. Well, look, it's just they're just trying to get him to drop out of the race by some other means, you know. But look, the rules of the game are until somebody wins, you know, it's still going on. We're still having a robust competition of ideas, and there's all of you know. People are forever coming up with these ways of saying, you know, trying to win the debate by some other means, by disqualifying one of the two candidates. Look, it's a good, it's a robust debate. Let's have the debate. Let's let the elections happen.
But Hillary Clinton said to our Chris Cuomo this week, look, I have 3 million more votes than him. I'm going to secure, based on pledged delegates alone, the nomination. Isn't there a point to what she says and what the Post said, that he doesn't have a plausible path?
But she hasn't done that yet. You know, the game goes on until one side or the other wins.
But what is it you think is going to happen between now and I guess it's the District of Columbia on June 14th?
Well, look, my own feeling is that of course she's going to win. I have no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, but that she's going to win. But it's like I said, you know, there's this robust debate going on, you know. And why interrupt it? It's good for democracy. This is how the game is supposed to be played.
You know that I read and enjoyed your most recent book, Listen, Liberal. I'll give it another plug. In the book, you argue that Democratic leadership hasn't been liberal enough. In fact, you go after Bill Clinton in a pretty big way. Aren't you concerned that by Bernie staying in and beating up on Hillary, you're helping elect Donald Trump? And I know you're not comfortable with that.
I'm helping elect Donald Trump. Look, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. No, I'm not. I'm actually not concerned about that. I think that Bernie is. I think that what he's doing so far is healthy for the process. He's bringing in all sorts of new voters, as I said, bringing in all sorts of new ideas. Look, the mainstream of the Democratic Party needs a challenge. This is how democracy works. This is what makes it healthy. You know, having this robust conversation. Of ideas, and just trying to, constantly shut one side or the other down, that's not democracy, that's not healthy, that's not good for the system.
I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. I mean, who would have thought that we'd be in a position where there would be an unsettled situation on the Democratic side of the aisle, and that the R's would be coalescing around Donald Trump and headed for seemingly a smoother convention?
I know, and this is, ultimately the point is this: it's up to Hillary to win this election. She needs to get out there and win. In this competition of ideas, she needs to win that competition of ideas. That's the only answer.
But isn't it also incumbent on Bernie at some point to see the handwriting on the wall and to try and marshal the troops on his side of the aisle?
Yes, he should do that once she has clinched the nomination. I fully expect that he will.
Thomas Frank. Thank you as always.
Sure thing.
Now to a Sanders supporter and delegate from the great state of Nevada, Angie Morelli. Angie, we've all seen the film footage. Is what happened in Nevada a sign of what's to come to my hometown of Philadelphia when Philadelphia hosts the DNC?
Well, I think that we've all seen some film footage. I don't think that the things that created some of the chaos on Saturday have all been shown. But I think that we are prepared to see this through in the democratic way, such as Tom was just suggesting. We need to make sure that we're having this conversation all the way throughout, because I think that the media and everyone has been saying that this has been in the bag for Hillary Clinton since Super Tuesday, when the contest was first starting off, and we have this process for a reason. We need to see it all the way through.
If Bernie Sanders were tomorrow to stand up and say, you know, that Washington Post editorial is right, I don't have a plausible path, I guess we've reached the moment when we all need to embrace Hillary Clinton. Are you, Angie Morelli, ready to do so?
Well, I don't think that for a second he would do that, first
But
of all.
what if he does?
Second of all, I don't think that he would do that. That's not something that he's been campaigning on this entire time. He's been campaigning on the fact that we have a rigged political system at this point, and that there's a lot of smart people that are involved that could be standing up and making the decision to make this a more transparent
But I guess
inclusion.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, and because I have this genuine doubt in my mind as to whether this Sanders constituency, of which you're a very vocal part, whether you're ready to follow his lead. I don't know that you're going to take direction from him if and when that time comes.
I think that we will see what Bernie Sanders has to say, but I think that us sitting here having conversations about what could possibly happen in the future, especially when those are very unlikely, is ignoring the fact that we had a very contentious situation here on Saturday, and there's some real problems that came out of that we need to be addressing on a national level. We have a very divided party, and I think that that's not going to get solved unless we start actually looking at the reasons why it's divided.
Would Elizabeth Warren on a ticket with Hillary Clinton appease your concerns?
I think again, like let's talk about what actually happened. I mean, I think that if Elizabeth Warren came out and she made some comments, they would probably be a lot less incendiary than the comments that have come out, from different other people that have been involved in this political process. But I think that Elizabeth Warren coming out on a ticket is ignoring exactly what the problem is. That's a flashy way of saying, hey, here's a carrot, let's give this to you so that we can try and make everybody happy, when instead, like, the real concerns are that we are not having our voices heard, that we've got draconian rules that are governing our local elections and our national elections, and I think that those are the things that we need to be addressing instead of just, here's a quick fix for the reason why everybody's so upset right now.
There was a statement that was put out by the Sanders campaign this week that you were reminding me of, and it said, in the past 3 weeks, voters in Indiana, West Virginia, and Oregon respectfully disagreed with Secretary Clinton. We expect voters in the remaining 9 contests also will disagree, and with almost every national and state poll showing Senator Sanders doing much, much better than Secretary Clinton against Donald Trump, here's the key part. It is clear that millions of Americans have growing doubts about the Clinton campaign. When I read it, I said, that doesn't sound like a campaign that is ready to go quietly into that night, and you are a supporter of that campaign. It doesn't seem like you're ready to fold the tent yet either. You get the final word.
Yeah, absolutely not. This is not just about Bernie Sanders. This is about a political revolution. This is about getting people involved and allowing them to say exactly what they feel. And I think that anybody who thinks that this is going to be over after the national election or after the national thing in Philadelphia, they're wrong. This is not. Yeah, the convention, this is not something that's going to go away. The people are upset and people want to get involved, and Bernie Sanders has inspired us all to get involved and make sure that our voices are going to be heard and that we stop being given the choice between these two wholly unpopular candidates.
Angie Morelli.
We need to move on from this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Heading to the convention.